fucked up as it was. This is my thought process. So I started shooting heroin, man, and I ended up shooting it for probably about 8 months. And then at that point, I, y- I know. I think my body, my chemistry, makeup was kind of weird, man, because I was shooting a lot of drugs, man, and I was almost normal. There would be people that, if you knew me, you knew something was off. But if you really didn't know me and you only knew me like socially, you couldn't tell. It's just my chemical makeup. I could tolerate my system could tolerate a lot and handle a lot, which is was really a bad thing because it pushed me to the limit more. But it also at the point where the 8 month came around and I realized that I hadn't really missed, you know, time with my kids. I'd still been spending time with my daughters and stuff like that. Because what I would do whenever I had my daughters, I wouldn't shoot to get high. I just shoot to get normal and stabilize.
Right.
And then as a
Yeah.
former person, you know
Yeah.
how it goes, right? So now I took that and I decided, okay, I'm still a decent, in my mind, my fucked up thinking. I'm like, I'm still a decent dad. I've been shooting heroin for 8 months. Now I'm gonna call my dad and tell him fuck you. My biological father. I'm gonna tell him fuck you. So what happened is, I call up my sister and I'm like, hey, I'll have my dad. Let's meet my biological father. He wants to meet me so bad right now. Let's meet him. So she arranges the meeting and she has him come over to my house. And well, excuse me, I go to his house and I pick him up. And that's a whole nother story. We'll talk about that in another. That's a part two.
Right. Right.
But I end up bringing him back home to my house.
And before this time, you hadn't seen him or talked to him since you were 10, or
I
maybe.
had I had never seen my biological father up until I was 10, and then 10, you know, I end up spending like a couple days with him
And
or a
now you're
week
with
with
him
him.
again right now. You have a
Yeah.
meeting with him right now after robbing banks, sitting down, and you're going to sit down face to face, chill with
So
him.
so so now for from the time I was 10 all the way through high school graduations, fighting matches, because I was always in sports, whether I was, I started doing Krav Maga when I was young, but I was part of the Navy boxing team because my one dad was, you know, Dad Tom was part of the Navy. So I was part of the Navy boxing team, dependent boxing team. I was
Mhm.
a wrestler. There's all these physical things. So we always invited my biological father to different events, my high school graduation, my Marine Corps graduation. He never showed up for anything. He didn't want part of anything. But all of a sudden, like I said, now I got all this money.
Mm.
And now he's telling my sister, okay, now I want to meet the guy. Now I want to be part of his life. I've got the money. So after I shot this heroin and decided to tell my sister, go ahead and have him come over because I was Mr. You know, I was just all attitude, man. I go pick him up, I bring him home, I have him meet my kids because my kids were there, and I introduce him to his grandkids and stuff like that, and blah blah blah. Take him through my house, and he's like crazy and then impressed with all the stuff that's there. And I take him into because I had this guest house, so I take him into the guest house, bro. But I know because he really didn't. He wanted to hang out with me, but he didn't know he was going to come spend the weekend with me. I had
Right.
planned with my sister to pack his bag and have him come spend the weekend because
Right.
I devised this plan, right? So I get him there, and he doesn't. Now he realizes, man, I'm spending the weekend, but he's starting. He didn't bring any heroin with him, so he's starting to kick, and I could see it. So right when he's starting to kick, man, I can see him sweating and stuff like that. He had been kind of sweating in the car, and I knew what he was going through. I knew the withdrawal was hitting him. So I take him into the guest house to set him up, and he's like, "Oh man, do you got any chocolate?"
Right.
When heroin addicts, you need something sweet. So he's like, "Yeah, I need chocolate." I said, "Hey, you're sick, huh?" He's, "Yeah, I'm just sick right now, man," because he doesn't know that I know he's a heroin addict. So I go into this other bedroom in the guest house. I say, hey man, it's okay. I got you. I think I got some medicine for you. And I walk back out and I've got a tray. And on this tray, I've got half a kilo of heroin and like almost like $50,000, a stack of $50,000. And I just hold it in front of him. I'm like, this is what you need, right? And the guy just looks at me, man. And he's like, whoa, whoa, what are you doing with that? What are you doing with that? But the smell is already hitting him. You know, you know what I'm talking
Right.
about. The smell is already hitting him. So he's kind of like, he's almost like, get that away. Like, no, what are you doing with that? But at the same time, he's like, well, you know, and I'm like, this is what you need, right? This is what's wrong with you. Like, hey, where'd you get that from, man? Why do you have that? I'm like, oh, this isn't what you need? Cool, man. I'll take it away. And he goes, no, 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 no. Hold on. So I look at the guy, man. This is my biological father, right? I'm looking at him, and he says, man, what are you doing? I said, this is what you do, right? This is
Right.
what you do. You do this heroin, right? And the guy's just like looking at me. He's like, man, why do you have that? I said, check this out, man. Everyone my whole life has told me the reason why you fucking abandoned me is because you were a heroin addict. I said, I didn't buy it. But everyone, my whole family, man, my mom, my grandma, my aunts, everybody tells me you didn't want anything to do with me because you're a fucking heroin addict. Well, check it out, man. Those little girls in there, those are my daughters, you know? And I called my dad, who took your fucking place, who raised me, took your fucking place, and I told him what a piece of shit you were and how you wanted to get to know me right now. And he told me, don't judge you until I walked in your shoes, man. So I did this heroin just to see, man, just to see what you experience. And I didn't do it for a day. I didn't do it for a week. I've been doing this shit now for almost 8 months, man. I said, and guess what? I'm still a decent dad, man. So, you know, here we are, me and you, bro. Let's do it together. And he looked at me. He's like, man, I'm not doing that. I can't do that with you, man. I'm not doing that with you, man. I'm not doing it with you. And I just looked at the guy, man. And I said, I bet you will. Because I know the strong pull that has, right?
Fucking over now the
Right?
choice he had to make right there.
Yeah, right.
Yo.
Right. So I'm looking at the dude and I'm like, I bet you will. And the guy looks at me, man, and he goes, no, 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 no. No, no, no. I can't do that with you, man. I can't do that with you. And I just look again and I said, I bet you will. He says, no. I said, I bet you will. And he looks at me and he goes, okay, okay, okay. Because he's hurting, man. He was hurting. He says, okay. So I freaking cook up 2 needles and shoot, get it to the place, help him shoot. You know, he shoots. And then I make up mine and I shoot. And he's sitting there and I wait right until he gets it. You know the sensation. And for you guys that don't, there's this overwhelming sensation that comes over you. And then right when he starts really getting into it, and he starts feeling it, he's like, oh man, son, this is so man, this is good, son. And look at him. I say, you motherfucker, don't you ever in your life fucking call me son. What fucking father shoots heroin with his fucking son? What heroin? What man shoots heroin with his son? I said, my father is named Gerald, and my other father is named Tom, my two stepdads.
Right.
My fathers are named Gerald and Tom. Don't you ever fucking call me your son. They would never shoot heroin with me, man. Here's what I want you to do. I'm gonna leave the rest of this heroin in here tonight. I want you to fucking kill yourself with it. Just fucking kill yourself with it. And if you don't kill yourself with it, you take the rest home. You can kill yourself with it at home. If that doesn't fucking work, there's $50,000 there because that's what you came here for, right? You came here to get money from me. You didn't come here because you want to know who I am. You came here for this shit. So take it, kill yourself with it. If you don't manage to kill yourself with it tonight, take that 50 G's, buy more of it, and fucking kill yourself with that. Fucking don't say anything else to me the rest of the night. I fucking walked out. And so in the morning when I went in, went to sleep, and I was actually hoping, bro, when I walked out into my guest house, that he'd be dead. And instead, the dude was sitting there alive, man. And I got him a car and sent him home. Sent him home and told him never to talk to me again. Told him I never ever wanted to hear from him again in life, right? And over the next month, bro, I was just freaking, my insides were just torn, man, like emotionally. And now I feel I'm gonna stop doing heroin, but I feel like I'm gonna go on one hard roll first. So I've got all these people at my house, got this huge party at my house, and this one guy, man, this one guy that knew me before the banks, before all this shit. Knew he was someone who saw me, but I didn't know that
Right.
he really saw me. Like that lady in the bank
Yeah,
saw
yeah,
me.
yeah.
He saw me like
He was
that.
staring at you when you thought he wasn't like like he was aware of you, very aware of who you really were.
Let me give him a shout out right now. His name
Yeah.
is Drew Lang. Drew Lang, I fucking love you. You saved my life, man. So Drew Lang, he's my buddy, man. He's just half black guy, half Asian, and kind of looks like me, but like Asian version of me, man.
Right.
And he's one of my best buddies, man. And he had knew me before all this shit, man. And so I've got this huge party at my house. This is probably like a week after, week, a month, and maybe like 2 weeks after my dad. Because I spent like a month or so, just fucking in it, like, right? Maybe a month or two. So this is a month and a couple weeks later. Got this huge party at my house, about 300 people at my house. Bruh, like everybody was at my house. When I say like back during that time, like
Right.
everyone, all these big
The
celebrities
scene.
were, yeah, it was the scene. It was at my house, and I go in my bedroom. I go to shoot real quick, just and he comes in my bedroom and he's like, "Yo, bro, can I talk to you for a minute?" And I was like, "Yeah, what's up, man? What's up?" And he goes, "Can I ask you a question?" I was like, "What's up?" He goes, "Are you happy?" And I look at the dude and I say, because he wasn't a partier. He didn't do any shit. He smoked weed,
Right.
which everybody should. Talk about that later, yeah. But he just smoked weed. He didn't do all the other stuff. So he was just like, bro, like, are you happy? And I was like, I'm high. I just shot up. I was like, yeah, I'm happy. Like, look, bro, like, look at all this shit. And he's like, no, 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 man. I'm saying, are you happy? And I said, bro, like, look. And now from this door, this balcony of my door, look out, you can see my cars, you can see like my Ferraris, you can see my Vipers and Mercedes there. Got like $500,000 in cars sitting there. And I'm like, bro, like, look at this shit, man. Look, of course I'm happy, right? He's like, Cain, you don't give a fuck about all this. I know you. He's like, all this shit is to feed all the vampires outside your fucking door. And I looked at him. It's like, bro, you're fucking up my high. What the fuck you want? Like, you need to get to the point. You're fucking up my high, right? He's like, I'm just trying to figure out if you're happy, man, because if you tell me you're not happy, I want to take you to this place, man. And I was like, oh, hell no. I'm not going to nobody's church. Fuck God, fuck Jesus, fuck them all. Because don't you religious people don't get worried yet. That was where I was. Don't you get worried yet.
Right.
Don't get worried yet. I didn't keep that mindset. But in that space, that's a mindset I had, bro.
Right.
I've been seeing people killed. I've been seeing people hurt. In my own life, I was like, there's no God. If there was a God, God wouldn't be letting babies die in wars, and God wouldn't be letting this happen, and this God wouldn't have made me end up in this situation where I had to rob damn near 100 banks or more.
Right.
There was no God, and this dude's like, no, I get it, man. I get it. I'm not taking you to a church. I'm gonna take you to a place. Kind of like just let me take you to this place, bro. I was like, dude, if I say yes, will you get the fuck out of my room so I can get high again, bro? And he was like, yes, yes. I was like, all right, cool. I'll go. Get the fuck out of my room. So he ends up leaving. I get high again, but like 2 weeks later, this dude's like, yo,
Sunday.
Hey, Sunday, it's time to go. I was
Sunday
like, bro,
service.
this motherfucker better not be taking me to church. And we jump in my car. We're driving to this place. He ends up driving these me to this place, man. As soon as I got there, like all it was like first off, what I noticed is was like racially, it was like everything. Like this place was so diverse, like white people, black people, Spanish, Asians, gays, straight. I was like, okay, this can't be a church because I saw a lot of gay people, like a
Right.
lot of gay dudes, like obviously gay, like owning their gayness. So I was like, oh yeah, this can't be a church,
Right.
you know. So I get there. And I've always been, super like, hey, live and let live. You want to be gay, if you want to be this, be you. I've always been that way, so
Right.
that didn't bother me at all. Um, Shout out to all the gays out there. Got mad love for you, support for you. But I was like, okay, so this can't be a church because there are too many people that don't fit in quote like what a church is supposed to be, right? What I
Right.
thought a church was supposed to be. So I go in there, man, and this dude gets on stage, and it's this little dude, man. It's this little black guy, man. And but he's like his energy. He's like, he's like in reality, he's like 5'6", 5'7", but
Right. Yeah.
but like his energy, he was like this freaking giant dude. And he's on stage and he's talking. He's saying, "Are you living your purpose? Are you living the life you're meant to live? Or are you living behind a mask? Are you being your authentic self? Or are you living behind a mask? You living someone else's life? If you are, you can step into your purpose right now." And I'm looking over at my boy, and I'm like, "Dude, why'd you tell him about me?" And my boy's like, "I didn't tell him about you, man. I didn't tell him about you." I'm like, "Yeah, you had to tell him about." But he was just tapped
And at
in.
the time, you're America's Most Wanted.
At the time, I was America's Most Wanted. At the time, I was one of
So
America's
you're
Most
hold on.
Wanted at
So
the time,
so you
right? Right,
so
right, right.
you're
But
an agape.
yeah, yeah,
The
but he
Rams
didn't.
sitting there talking some
They
shit.
didn't know my name. They just had like
I
my
don't know.
mode.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. They just had my
And
modus.
you know who you were.
Yeah, yeah. They had my MO, but they didn't have my identity.
Right.
There were these pictures that were going around everywhere that looked like me. Lenny Kravitz wrote this song about me called Bank Robber Man, because back then I was, was a little bit more chiseled up and, wear beanies. And I'd come out of this bank, and Lenny Kravitz, I guess, was going to the airport, and they thought he was me. And they pull him out and throw him up against a car, and he's trying to say he's Lenny Kravitz. They're like, "No, you're a bank robber man." So he ended up writing a song called Bank Robber Man. Anyway, um, so I go to this, and as he's talking, I'm crying. I realize I'm freaking crying
Right.
because everything he's saying is just resonating with me, man. And that guy ended up being Michael Bernard Beckwith, the founder of Agape. And the place that I was at was Agape. And
Which we met.
which is where we met.
Yeah.
It's a spiritual center, non-denominational. It's just more of the connectedness. We are all connected to Source.
Right.
And I remember telling my boy, like, "Dude, I got to talk to this guy. I got to talk to this guy, man." And he was like, "Okay, like, I was like, "Can we go meet him?" And he was like, "Yeah, he says hi to people. He stands in line. He says hi to people standing in line. They say hi to him." So I remember walking up and standing in this long line, bro. Like good 7,500 people in this line waiting to say hi to Michael Bernard Beckwith. And, it looks like he was like, "Hey, hi, how are you? Hey, hi, how?"
Right.
Just going down, saying hi to everyone. And he gets to me, man. And right as he gets to me, he had kind of been like this with her. "Hey, hey, hi, hi." And he gets to me and he stops and he looks up at me. He goes, "Hey, what's up, young brother?" And I say, "Can I ask you a question?" And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, go ahead." And I say, "Can you teach me everything you know? Like, can you give me everything you know?" I said, "I will give you $1 million. I'll have $1 million back in an hour. I'll bring you $1 million in cash if you give me everything you know." And he just kind of looked at me, man. He goes, and he looks over at my boy because he had seen my boy there. He knew my boy was going to this place. He looks over at my boy. He goes, "Is he serious, man?" My boy goes, "Yeah, he's probably serious, man." So he goes, "Michael Beckwith, this is what he says to me, man. He goes, listen, I can't give you anything. I can't give you anything, man." He goes, I'm not even, I don't even think I can teach you anything." He goes, "But what I can do is I can remind you of who you are and who you're supposed to be. And then you'll start to remember. Once you start to remember who you are, you'll start to remember why you're on the planet. And at that point, I was just like, okay, okay, all right, I'm in. And he's like, I tell you what, so you hold on to that $1 million for now. All right. I was like, all right, man. He goes, you hold on to that $1 million. Here's what I want you to do. Every time the door is open, I want you in one of the seats. He goes, once you start remembering yourself, let's talk after that. And I was like, all right, man, I'm in.
So you started going back.
So I literally, bro, was at every service that opened because they had services on Sunday and Wednesday. And I'd go in, man, and I'd just get fed, man, and I'd just get fed. And I was starting to have this amazing remembrance of who I was supposed to be and who I was. My whole life, I've been based on being this warrior. My identity has been like, oh, I'm this. My identity is wrapped up in, and that was all just from being this young boy who had been molested and been this and been that, trying to be this hardcore guy now. And now all of a sudden, man, I'm coming into the knowingness of who I truly am. And my identity was no longer being based
But it
on.
was almost like it was falling because you, like you were saying, but something was cracking off. It was like you have this other dark dude right here, right?
Yeah.
And it's falling off. And it was right at that point, looking at Michael Bernard Beckwith with that shit. It was probably the little bit that lady, what she saw in you, Michael saw in you.
So check it out, bro. Here, and that's the interesting correlation. That lady, I was thinking about her. Her words were hitting me, bro. Her words were hitting when I was sitting in that seat. Her words were hitting me, right? And it was just all coming together, man. It was just all coming together, and that's when I went on the journey to going, God, I need to transform my life, man. And I started transforming my life. And
But like right out here, like over here, you're just like, I'm gonna transform my life, but here's 150 years.
yeah, so I knew so I knew that I'm this wanted guy,
Right.
but I'm in plain sight. Matter of fact, I had this deputy.
But
that
how
was
many
doing
years
my
though? Like because just to sit there, doesn't that like I say that because that's your the other part. Now you've created this situation toward the end of it, the story, the end, the Thelma and Louise when they drive off the fucking cliff is 150 years.
So I know because I'm reading the paper like everyone else. I'm watching America's Most Wanted like everybody else, and they say I'm gonna get They say if I get caught, I'm doing 150 years. They say I'm
Right.
looking at 150 years, right? So I know that there's this knowing in me that I'm supposed to do the right thing and transform my life, but at the same time, I know, fuck, I got all this time I'm looking at too. Like if I do the right thing, I'm looking at all of this time, bro. And I knew there were men in prison that were way better than me. They're innocent doing that time. And here I am. I'm guilty, bro. I've robbed over 100 banks. Like I know that I'm going to jail, bro. Like, I don't know how many advocates I'm gonna have. I don't think I'm gonna have any advocate like trying to keep me out of jail. So there was this torn thing where I know I want to do the right thing, but I know these consequences are sitting in front of me, man. And I tell you what, bro, like when I tell you when you really step into your yes, because that was the one thing different than a lot of people that I had done. I had actually like just kind of told the universe, like, I'm tired of wearing this mask, man. I just wanted to pull it off. I'm like, I'm tired of wearing this mask. I just want to be myself. I want to create another life. I want my girls, my young 3 daughters to just, I want to be in their life. I want to do it the right way, but I don't want to be like that dad that I had, that biological father. But I'm like, fuck, if I turn myself in, I'm gonna be in prison the rest of my life, probably. But then I'm like, you know what? I know how to get in and out of anything.
Right.
As we've seen, I've never been
Right.
caught robbing a bank. So I was like, you know what? I had this spiritual journey. I've been on this spiritual journey now. So I go to Michael Bernard Beckwith, right? And I say, I gotta tell you something, man. Like, people don't know, but I'm like a huge criminal. I'm like one of America's most wanted. I'm like one of America's most wanted.
Well,
you know?
he's real.
And he's like,
he's real calm.
whoa!
Was he
He's like,
cool?
woo, man, really, man? I was like, yeah, man. He's like, just out in the open, man. I was like, well, that's because they don't know my identity, right? I said, but in order to be of integrity, in order to be of absolute integrity, like, do I have to turn myself in? Do I have to turn myself in?
Because they
Right?
have nothing on you.
Right?
Oh, they were on you. Feds were on you, but you were clear.
Well, here's what I didn't know at the time. And here's what was such a trip, bro. And well, I'll come back to that. So they did find out who I was.
Who was that that told on you? You know that?
Well, I know who it was. I won't put you out there, bro.
Fucking put
It's
no
all
kidding.
love and it's all, hey, bro,
I was
listen, the
just
guy
kidding,
did
just
me a
kidding.
favor. The
Right,
guy did me
absolutely
a
did you a
favor
favor. Yeah, absolutely.
because who I am now, bro, I mean, you know,
Right.
the guy did me a favor. But here was the point. They still couldn't arrest me.
Well, it doesn't matter what he did. You already did.
I had
done it.
already
You- right.
so what had happened, the way that the timing of the event, how it happened is I didn't even know I had someone telling them who I was. And my boy, you know, someone super, super close to me that I had pulled out of all kind of trouble, man. I'd been there for him and everything else, man. Loaned him money, I did everything for this guy, man. He knows who he is. And he got caught up on a case. He got caught up on a dope case.
Right.
And he was looking at some significant time, and I had nothing to do with that dope case. But he didn't want to do the time on the dope case, so he gave them my name. He called them in and gave them my name, but then tried to take it back. You know, thought about what he did later and tried to take it back, but it was too late. But
almost
because of who
concurrently-
he was, he
Right.
had a record. I
Right.
didn't have this record, and so all at the same
concurrently,
time.
that's happening. You're about to turn yourself in. This dude's turning yourself in. Feds are on you.
And
but
I
you're
don't
about
know
to-
it. And
right.
I don't even know it. I don't even know it. And the beautiful thing is how the universe works, bro, when you step into your yes. Because when I went to Michael and I'm asking him, do I have to turn myself in? Like, he's like, what? And I'm telling him who I was. I said, do I have to turn myself in? He was like, bro, we're not Catholic. You know, we're not Catholic. We don't got to go to another man and confess and some shit. You know,
Right.
That's not who we are. You just got to make yourself right with the universe. You got to make yourself right with God, bro. You don't have another man standing between you. You know, you don't got to go find your righteousness through this person over here, man. You know, we do that. We got our own connection to God, man, to the universe, bro. You talk to him just as well as that guy's going to talk to him. You know, are you doing right by that? And I was like, yeah. He's all right. You don't have to turn yourself in. And I was like, yes. I was like, yes, yes, yes. And then he goes, but I was like, no, no buts, no buts, no buts, bro. And he was like, but if the spirit is telling you, fuck my head up, right? Yeah, right. He was like, if the spirit of the universe of God is telling you to turn yourself in, then you know you don't need to listen to that, man, because that means the universe and God has got something in store for you that you probably just can't see. And whatever obstacle that looks there that you're scared of right now, man, you're doing what the universe tells you to do, man. It'll get worked out. And I was like, you had to come with that butt, huh, bro? Like, you had to come with the butt. Why couldn't we just stop it there, you know? And so over the next couple weeks, man, that just it just
You decided-
resonated with me and it moved me, man. And I ended up, a couple things happened, blah blah blah, and I ended up actually calling. I ended up getting Johnny Cochran first, right?
Right.
I ended up getting a hold of Johnny Cochran before he passed, of course. Getting a hold of Johnny Cochran, and Johnny Cochran's last case at that point, his last criminal case was Puffy and J Lo. So he's like, listen, man, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you my protege, this beautiful, beautiful attorney, amazing attorney named Kevin Winston McKesson. Thanks, Kevin, for all you did for me, man. He gave me his protege, which was Kevin Winston McKesson. And this guy is just a savage, man. He's a beast. But I wasn't trying to get him to fight my case for me. I just wanted him to get us the best deal we could because I knew I wanted to turn myself in, but we were looking for the best deal. So it was crazy because the FBI literally, I don't know what's going on the other side.
Right, yeah, you're right. You don't know
So-
that he already gave your ass
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
That this is happening concurrently. So you're making a decision in your head to do this, and they're about to fucking
Right, right,
come
right.
to you.
Well, my guy had called me a couple times on the
So
phone.
did you feel like
hey,
you knew something was happening? Did you have a gut
well,
feeling
I
or no?
kind of thought maybe this guy was doing something, but I didn't realize he was going hard on me like he was going. I just did not. I had put money on his books, on his case. I had helped pay for his attorney. That he was getting on his drug case, bro. I was looking out for the guy, and not even because I thought he had something on me. Just looking
Right.
out for him. He was my bro, right?
Right.
I've always been super, super generous. Always been super generous, you know. And like my buddy said, man, the money never really meant anything to me. I only wanted the money to be able to help other people, you know. And it's still like that to this day. You know, I want prosperity and wealth, but it's not so I can have the best of everything. It's so God that gives me more resources to help others.
Mm.
So I end up, me and my attorney, this is on a Wednesday, bro. We call the FBI on a Wednesday and we're like, hey, this is Cain, Vincent, Dyer, and I think that we have some pertinent information to these bank robberies that you guys have and blah, 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 you know? And they're like, wow, little did I know that while I'm talking to them, the ink is drying on their search warrant. Now, they didn't tell me this. I don't even know this.
Right.
But while I'm talking to them, bro, they had just gotten basically a search warrant. The ink's drying on it, right? That they were going to execute in a couple of days, though.
Right.
Right? But I don't know that. So they agree. This is on a Wednesday. My attorney and I agreed to go talk to them on a Friday. And at Friday at 3 o'clock, I was going to go into Westwood and just, hey, tell them everything that, you know, we're going to try and get a deal first for me. I did all the crime on my own. There's no one I don't have to talk about.
And they have no idea this is even happening. This is the craziest thing. This is
Right?
you're right
Yeah.
about to do this, and then
Right.
that like
So when
day-
I called them, we're like, oh, okay. I didn't call them and say, hey, I'm the bank robber. We
Right.
called them and said, hey, you know, we kind of like, hey, you know,
Give them some
we want to
information.
talk to you.
Yes.
You want to talk to you. You want to see what they got. See, you know, if they're willing to make some deal with me first. So I go to sleep. I'd started, you know, like I said, me and my ex-wife were apart. So I was dating this other person. And you know, we were cool, we were super cool, and we go to sleep. And we went to sleep on like Thursday, like because we caught them on Wednesday. So I'm thinking the next day, and even this girl I'm dating, even my kid's mom, my wife.
you
at the
tell them
time
too
I'm
that
going
you
through
were-
divorce? Yeah, I went to people and said like, I
I'm
think
gonna
I'm
make a
going to turn
decision.
myself in. I think
Right,
I'm going to
right.
turn myself in.
Right.
And my parents were super supportive, but even people
You
were
made
like,
your
"No,
decision.
no,
You
no,
told
no."
your family. That was really making a decision by telling them, knowing you had to now do this.
Right.
Right.
So now I called them to tell them, let's meet on a Friday. And these guys, man, they kicked my door in on Thursday. Thursday night, they kicked my door in. I'm not expecting them or anything. They kicked my door in on a
Feds.
Thursday night. Yeah, the only thing I had done, check this out, man. I knew that the only information and the only person that could really, really identify me was this one guy, right? I had done this bank robbery like a year earlier, or however earlier. And this guy at this hair salon, I'm casing the bank across the street, and this guy at this hair salon, they come and I'm sitting on the bench watching this bank, man, and this guy at this hair salon, they come and start trying to talk to me. And before I realized, I'm like, oh, he's not just trying to make friendly conversation. He's like gay. He's trying to hit on me.
Right,
So I'm telling the guy, like, oh, you know, I'm sorry, I'm not gay, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Much love, blah, blah, blah. So he starts talking to me, and he hands me a card. This is like a year early. He hands me a card. I take that card, and I'm like, okay, thanks. And I just put it in my pocket. And the guy leaves, but I never really look at the card. I'm not going to call the guy, right?
Right.
I think he's just a customer getting a hair done, his haircut.
Right.
The next day, I go back and I rob this bank, Wells Fargo on Barrington in Brentwood.
Brentwood,
bro.
yeah.
I do this bank, boom, it's a big deal. They block off like a mile square radius. They think they have me, blah, blah, blah. I'm at home. I get home and I'm watching this. I'm like, oh, cool. And then I see an interview with this guy, and he's the manager of the salon. So I'm like, oh,
That's the dude
my
you were sitting
God.
with.
Yeah,
the dude you're
I was
sitting with. So
there.
because they're looking for you, they think they have you pinned in.
Right. But I know like a year later, but he didn't know anything about me. He just gave them a good description of me, right?
Right.
But one of the
So you're
biggest
wait a second. So
reasons.
you're watching on the TV as they're looking for you, the guy that you see on the TV.
Well,
That's
I end up finding out. I don't know if it was a television right then, or I read in a paper like later that next day or
right,
something.
right.
But I see they're talking about this guy who actually talked to him.
Oh, the
Who
could I
ac-
see you?
Yeah,
Right,
who actually
right.
talked to
So
me.
the
'Cause
dude
the
that said
guy's
the
like,
gay
hey,
dude, the
yeah,
gay
yeah,
hairdresser,
yeah. And
Philippe.
the guy's like, hey, what are you doing? I was like, I teach a martial art class. My name's Billy, and I teach a martial art class. And he kept hitting on me.
Right,
The guy
right.
kept hitting on me. So finally, I just ended up trying to cut the conversation and leaving. But I thought he was just some customer, and I
Right.
would never see him again. He probably wouldn't even hear about the bank robbery. Had no clue he was the manager of the bank. I mean, not the bank. He was the manager of the hair salon. So fast forward when I'm thinking I'm going to turn myself in, but I want to make sure I'm able to do this. I'm going to call that guy, talk to that guy, and just I was just thinking of like all the different ways that they hold the power. Like that the feds are gonna hold the power if when I turn myself in, let me clean up all my loose ends so I can I was trying to like
Limit your
yeah.
exposure.
So I wrote this guy's name on a piece of paper because I remembered him.
Yep.
I was like, that guy's name on a piece of paper. And all of a sudden, I had wrote his name on a paper like that Wednesday because I had decided to turn myself in. So I had this piece of paper in my pocket, right? And but now me and the girl that I started seeing, started dating, she's really involved with me. We're asleep and we're getting ready to wake up and everybody goes out late in LA. We're gonna go grab sushi.
Right.
We're gonna go grab sushi a little bit later, and we're asleep, man. And my door gets kicked in, but we had just on regular underwear, but the jeans that I had were sitting right there with that guy's number in it. So they put us in handcuffs and they've got us there, and I'm asking them like, wait, because the officer, the special agent who was tracking me the whole time, his name's Patrick Connolly. What's up, Patrick? We're buddies now,
Right.
as you know. You watch the
Yeah.
documentary. We're cool now, and he's a good guy. He's a good guy, and he's just doing his job. But we I'm asking the agents to have me handcuffed. Like, where's Patrick Conley? I want to talk to Conley. I want to talk to Conley. I told you guys I was coming in. Why are you guys kicking in my door? So he comes in and he goes, hey, listen, man. He walks in, he's got on the suit, kind of like the movie, man. I'm sitting there, they've got me squared off. The woman I was with was sitting across from me, and she's like in just like underwear, and I'm in underwear, and it's kind of cold, but I'm asking him like, why are you kicking in my door, bro? I told you I was going to show up to you tomorrow and talk to you. But now I'm angry that they've kicked in my door, right? That's
Right.
that arrogance of us people that do stuff like we do, right? So it's almost like narcissist. I'm angry.
But no, but
I'm
hold
angry
on
that
a
the
minute.
police
So
are
right
kicking in the
now,
bank robber's door.
right now, are you thinking it's they came because you called, or what, are they coming because that guy called? So you're thinking right
I
now.
don't know. I don't.
This is what I'm saying. Your
I'm
mindset's thinking
oh,
that they came because
they're
of
called
you.
because I called.
Right.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah,
why you're
yeah,
saying
yeah.
to him. That's what I'm trying to clear
Yeah.
up. Because
So-
that's why you're going, why'd you guys come? Fuck you. You're supposed to, why'd you fucking
I'm
embarrass
like,
me?
yeah, I'm
That's why
like,
you're
I'm
pissed.
supposed to.
Got it.
I told you I
You have
come
no
in on
idea,
Friday,
dude. Fucking dude turned you
right?
in.
So I'm thinking I'll just
Got it.
show up on Friday.
Because that's why I would say, why I told you I was coming in. So when you said that, they're probably like, oh, he's giving himself up.
Yeah. So they were like, oh, maybe he's getting rid of stuff all day today, and tomorrow,
Yeah,
let's
right.
go kick in his door, try and save us from.
So you're just
Any
thinking about the
information.
fucking thing, the number.
That's the only thing.
They could
Bro,
get-
they
they have-
give me a list. So Patrick Conley hands me a list. It's a search warrant, and he tells me, unfortunately, I can't arrest you right now. But if I find one thing on that search warrant, you're going to jail tonight for bank robbery. And I'm just like, okay, all right. I'm going over the list, bro. Going over everything on the list. I'm going like, nope. They're like money, clothes. They're everything I used in the bank, everything gone, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, nope, don't got that, don't got that, don't got that, don't got that.
Which is wild,
Nope.
because after 100 banks, to think about every pair of shoes and everything you had. You
I
got rid
burned
of
everything.
everything
Every
gone.
single time right afterwards, bro. I went into the fire pit right there. Boom, boom, boom. Bro, I was
Right, got it.
Yeah. I was keeping no souvenirs.
Right.
And from anything I wore, anything I used, to
But they gave you that list, and the
the
only
only thing I kept
thing.
from bank robberies was the money.
So you're looking
So-
right, and so you're looking at things. You're sitting there. You're thinking. All of a sudden, you're like, "That fucking number's in my pants." The
So
only
wait.
thing.
Here's a crazy thing. This is how like just this stuff you can't make up, right? It's number 60 something, and it's the last thing on the list.
Is it really?
So I go, yeah, oh man, I go through the whole thing, and
And
it
as they're walking
says,
around looking through all your shit.
yeah, they got a whole team, bro. Check this out. Because they knew they were coming to, they knew this guy, whoever robbed the bank, I'm America's Most Wanted at the time, one of America's Most Wanted. They've got my street cordoned off with tanks. They knew I was former military, so now they know my background because they've done their homework. This is before Google, but
Right.
they've Googled me back in that day, whatever their Google was.
You
They
did
know
Google.
there was no
Yeah.
Google then, but they know that this is a serious dude we're messing with.
Right.
This dude's got tactical training. He's got this. He's got that. We got to. This dude's robbed
100
at
banks
least,
and go-
but they don't know 100 at that time. They're going. He's robbed at least 30 banks in L.A. and we've never been able to catch him. Like he's tactical. They were even saying, "Oh, we know this guy's got to be some tactical military dude."
Right.
So, and the problem was they couldn't catch me, as we know, it's because of my race. They used to call me the multi-ethnic man, the kangaroo bandit, the ghost,
Right.
because no two people at a you could take 15, 20 people, and no two people would say I was the same thing. It was, oh, he was a light-skinned black. No. He was just a tanned white guy. No, hey, I'm Puerto Rican. He was Puerto Rican. I know my people. And then
Right.
a Persian would be, no, I'm Persian. I think he was Middle Eastern, you
Right,
know?
right.
No, he was part Asian. You know, I got like Asian
Right,
eyes. And
right,
they're like,
yeah.
no, he's Asian. So he's like, so they just didn't know what I was. No one knew what I was because, we're talking about that long ago, almost 20 years ago. Now there's guys that look like me everywhere. Everybody's like mixed now, but that was before everybody was like mixed.
Right.
And so they just could never get, they knew what I looked like, but they could never get a handle on who I was. So they're looking for all this stuff, man. And I see that piece of paper and what it says. Because I had thrown the actual card that the guy gave me, I
Right.
threw it away. But on this search warrant, it says a card, piece of paper, or chit, CHIT, right? Or chit with this guy's name on it. And I won't say the guy's name, but it was like Joe Smith, right?
Right.
Name on it. And on that piece of paper, I've got the guy's name, the name of the salon, the name of this, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh my God, right?
And it's sitting in your
And
pocket.
it's sitting in my pocket in my room because they had brought us out to the living room. And I was like, all right, I got to go for it. And I was just like, hey, guys, we're freezing. And my girl, I've been asking for a minute. Can you guys let her put some clothes on? She's this super beautiful girl, and all these dudes are rolling around, and she's like in bra and G-string, literally, right? So I'm like, guys, can you guys freaking cover my girl up, bro? Can you guys cover my girl up? And they hadn't listened to me before, but now I'm making like, hey, we're cold. Can you guys grab us clothes? And so finally they asked Patrick Conley, hey, can we get them some clothes or clothing? And he's like, yeah, just check it before. I'm like, oh. So they grab her this robe that was right there. They put the robe on her. And they go, where can we find clothes? I say, I have a pair of pants. It's right at the foot of my bed. And a shirt like on the other side. So they go, and I can see their line of sight, bro. This guy grabs my pants, and I'm going. The only thing I'm thinking is like, okay, it's paper. It's not heavy. It's paper. Guy pulls the wallet out of my back. Sure enough, pulls the wallet out of my back, sets the wallet there, and he does this to the pants. He squeezes the pants instead of going in the pocket. He just squeezes the pants to make sure there's nothing there. Comes and hands me my pants, and I put the pants on, go in my pocket, and sit there, bro. And I fake a yawn, and I eat that piece of paper, bro. It is the best paper I've ever had in my life. That paper tastes like a New York steak, bro.
And then they
So
said
then
no.
they couldn't do anything. They had to go. But at this point, I'm angry now. Now I'm angry, bro. Now I'm mad because now I'm like, I was going to turn myself in, but now you guys did this. So now I'm going to make you work. So my ego jumped back in the game. and they couldn't leave. I mean, they couldn't leave with me. So, but this agent man, he knew how to get to me, man. He talked about my family and me doing the right thing, and he's like, I felt you called us because you wanted to do the right thing. And he talked about my family. I tell people his training was good, you know. But he was sincere too. He was sincere. That's why we're cool now. And
But then you didn't leave. Like you were able. You left for a while. You
but so
just were
so
able to
what I told
disappear.
him though, but at first I was ready, but now I was like, you know what? Now I'm not ready to go. Now it was just that fear jump back on me, bro.
The
And
fucking feds rushed you. That's enough to
he,
make you start rethinking your
yeah,
thought.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because this the way you came in was so hard that it actually put a little fear in me. So I was just like, you know what? I told him, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take some time, a couple weeks, maybe a month. I'm gonna just spend time with my family. I'm gonna get myself right, get my head right again, get my body right, and get my mind right, and I'll think about talking to you again. And he said
Because there was nothing.
there was nothing he could do. He had to leave. He had to
But
leave
he
my
knew you
house.
were the fucking dude.
Yeah, and we were like, we actually like shook hands at the end of
That's
the night. We're like,
great.
hey, best man
You
wins.
know this is the guy that robbed the 100 banks. You can't do anything. He fucking and it was about to admit it.
Yeah. Like on the documentary, I think you see him on the
Yeah.
documentary. He's all when I was leaving there, I was like, I just want to kick myself.
Yeah.
Like, right? I ended up taking off for a little bit.
Right.
And I went out of the state and I just needed some time to recenter, man, remember again, like, you know, because I started to lose myself even in that like anger, like they came in there. I mean, that's how arrogant we become sometimes. Like, bro, the guy's supposed to be after you. You're a bank robber.
Right.
He's supposed to be after you. I was like arrogant, like he came after me, you know. And so I just took the next 2 weeks, bro, to probably 3 weeks even to just settle in again and remember everything I had remembered and to just settle back into that space and got my head clean, my body clean. And I would call him. Like at first,
So you like
he would call me
you
first.
cultivated almost not say a father relationship, but you kind of cultivated a little bit of a relationship with this cat.
Well, it definitely wasn't
Not a father, but
I
you trusted him a
cultivated
little
like
bit.
a friend relationship
Yeah.
because he and I would talk. He would call me. It started off by him calling me, just making sure I was still on the radar. And I knew he was.
But was he actually cool? Or, I mean,
No, he was
playing
being
or was
so
he-
cool, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
He was being like he was coming from a spiritual place. Like,
He
hey
was.
man, I know this is really tough. And he would just talk to me like not like a cop, but like a friend. Like, I know you want to do the right thing for your kids, man. I know you're the guy. And I kept telling him, you don't know that. And he's like, no, I know you're the guy. I know you're the guy. We're pretty sure you're the guy, man. And I was
Because
like,
they
well,
had pictures of your fucking
yeah.
face,
And
bro.
I was like, well, you would have found out on Friday had you not kicked in my door, you know? And we go back and forth and we laugh and we just built up this rapport over the phone, man. And he I remember having a tough night one night. I was in Arizona. I had gone out to Arizona. It was like in Sedona or something. And I remember, man, just like going, okay, it's now or never, Cain, man. You got to stand up. You got to face the music. This is what you want. You want this. Nobody's forcing you in the corner. This cop isn't forcing you. I could go on the run right now, man. I could go on the run. I had enough money to be gone forever. You know, I would have been in another country the next day, you know. And but I
Or
was like,
150, like just looking at all the things, all those things that you're looking at, like that, and even the path of what you did, and then being it, like sitting there going, and then the lifestyle you created for yourself.
yeah,
So you're all these things are
Yeah,
part of this
yeah,
decision you're
yeah.
making,
I
and then
went
you're
from being
and then
dirt
this thing
poor,
Reverend
bro.
Michael Beck with in the back of your head back here. You know.
Yeah. I went from being dirt poor to having millions and millions of
Right.
dollars. And
It's a lot of
how do
shit to
you
get through your
leave
head.
that lifestyle now too to go sit in a prison, you know? And,
Right.
and there were a couple other things that happened. There was this thing that happened with my kid, which we'll talk about at some point. Or you guys can get the book. You know, this thing that happened with my kid. But um, I ended up not wanting my daughters. I knew I could have run and pretended, but I just wanted. I was like, man, I think the only gamble I have in having my daughters respect me is to do the right thing from here.
Right.
to just do the right thing from here. I'd never, and listen, this isn't a put down to people that have harmed innocent people. I had never taken from anyone other than a institution. I'd never robbed. So I was trying to get them to give me a deal. So even while I was gone, we were having them talk about what kind of deal I could get. And when they got to a certain number, man, I was like, okay, that that I could live with that. I could probably do that. And they were telling me
What was that
that if
number?
I turned myself in, I think I did this. They couldn't guarantee me a deal,
Right.
but they had the U.S. attorney talk to me, and she was like, you know what? If you didn't use a real gun, and we found at my house they did find a BB gun.
Right.
So but it wasn't the same type of BB, replica of the gun I used. So they were like, and remember, I didn't use a real gun because I didn't want to hurt
Right.
an
Right. Right.
innocent person in the bank. I, I, now the crazy thing about that is I had real guns, but I knew I didn't want to use a real gun in the bank just because I didn't want to harm anyone in the bank. I'm trained to survive, and if you pull a gun on me, I'm probably going to beat you to the punch. So if you were some security guard, I didn't want to hurt you. I'd rather you pull your gun on me and me drop and say, okay, and go to jail for attempted bank robbery than taking some innocent guy's life. So it was the one thing that ended up saving me on time too, outside of the
Yeah.
universe having the judge. And I got this judge, man, and bro, he was a hardcore judge, bro. He's a no games playing judge, and Judge Fees, and he ended up before I even turned myself in. We had decided that I was looking at anywhere from 12 to 20, and that since I turned myself in, I would probably get somewhere around 15. And I was like, listen, who wants to go to jail for 15 years? Who wants to go to prison for 15 years? But I was like, you know
15
what?
days.
Yeah, who wants to go to jail for 15 days? But it was like, oh, you'll probably get 12, maybe, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, I did this, man. I gotta live with it. At least I'll still be young. I'll have a whole life. I get to show my kids I did the right thing after doing all this bad stuff, man. Just face the music, man. Face the music. It's what you want. It's what's gonna turn your life around. And I kept having the universe tell me, I'm gonna take care of you, man. I got you. Like I got you. It was just that voice, that knowing, man, that I was doing the right thing. And I had kind of come to terms anyway, though. Like, even if this doesn't happen where they give me a deal, I'll just spend the rest of my life in a place. Well, maybe I'll try and get out at some point. But if I can't, I'll spend the rest of my life trying to just teach other guys not to have to go through what I went through. So I had made an oath to myself that if they give me some big number and I end up in jail for that time, say 20 years or something, every fucking guy that comes across my path, I'm gonna use that opportunity to tell him to do the right thing, right? How to go out there and live a life of integrity versus coming back here. And so I was like, universe, if that's what you want to use me for, go ahead. But I definitely think you can use me better outside.
Right.
It's like bargaining, And I finally called him up one day. I was in Arizona. I was like, hey, check it out, man. I'm gonna turn myself in tomorrow.
And that was dude, right?
And that was the FBI agent, Patrick Conley. And he was like, what? Are you serious? I was like, yeah. I called my family. I, spend time with my girls and stuff like that. My kid's mom, ex-wife, was so amazing, man. She had been there and allowed me to spend that time with the family and stuff like that. And I
Was
spent
it a
time.
spectacle too for like news and stuff when you turned yourself in? Was it?
Yeah. And then I'd spend time with my parents and stuff like that. And I tell you what, man, I got on a plane to come back, and this lady, man, was this little white lady. I ended up sitting next to this white lady and her husband and her family were there. She had three kids, and they were on the plane, right? But I ended up sitting next to her and in these three seats. And she was like, "So, where are you going to? Are you going home or are you coming back?" And I was like, "I'm actually, I'm actually going to Los Angeles to turn myself in." She's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Well, I'm just like bank heist guy. I'm a bank robber, and I'm going to turn myself into the feds." And she's like, "Are you serious?" And I'm
Hey,
like,
that's
"Yeah."
awesome,
I was
man.
like, "So what if she's scared? She can't run anywhere.
No, but
She
she's
can't
a
stop the plane now, And she goes, "It's not like she can call the police on me. I'm already going to the police, And this lady was so awesome, man. Juanita. Hey, Juanita. Uh, she actually prayed with me, bro. She's like, "Can I pray with you?" She's like, "First, are you serious?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she tells her house, "He's going to," and she prayed with me, man. She just prayed with me, right? And it was super sweet. And I turned myself in, bro. I ended up turning myself in that day. Got there, and my kids were waiting for me at the
They were there
Westwood. I pulled into the Westwood, man, and gave them hugs and some love,
and stepped in.
and then I walked up to Patrick Conley and we hugged. It was kind of weird, bro, because we didn't just like shake hands, like we hugged each other.
That's a trip.
Yeah, he actually talks about that too. Like he says it was a super powerful moment from him. Like he had never had anything like that in his career, and we hugged each other, and I ended up going in and got that Judge Fees, who was really hard, man. My attorneys were like, "Oh, maybe we should try and switch judges." And the universe was just like, "No, man." That judge ended up giving me 108. So when he said 108, bro, like my knees wanted to fall out. My knees wanted to fall out from it because he's like, "Yeah, I'm sentencing you to." But before he sentenced me, here's what he did, Joy. He said, "Before I sentence you, I need to know why you ended up doing this, man. How such a awesome young man. I've looked at your background and you're a Marine. He was a Marine. He used to be a Marine. I'm pretty sure he was telling me about it. He was saying from the bench how such a young man with such promising life ahead of him ended up doing all these bank robberies and even more important than that, what in God's name made you turn yourself in?
Right.
And I realize you're here because of you, and I want to know why, man. And I said, well, it's going to take a little while. I don't like this interview. You guys have been listening to this for a long time, right? And he goes, I said, well, it's probably going to take a little while because we were towards the end of the day. He goes, I tell you what, you got all day. I'm going to bring you back and you can have the whole day to tell me. I want to hear it all. Right. And then I'm going to sentence you afterwards. And I said, okay. And he brought me back about 2 days later. And he gave me all the time I needed. And I told him from point A to point B about how that journey began and then what even made me turn myself in. And he looked at me and he said, which, you've read and people have read that, go and Google it. He said that he had never had anyone that he felt was so sincere stand in front of him before. He says, usually he gives people the maximum, even if you make a plea deal. So even the deal that I had made, even it was for this much time. He says he never typically holds to it.
Remember we had lunch with Janet. Janet said, "Yeah, that dude is a night." Remember Janet? We had lunch with, and you guys brought him up, and she was like, "He's a tough judge."
Yeah. Janet said that. That's right.
Yeah.
Janet was saying, "Oh, she knew how tough my
Yeah.
judge was." Yeah, and he was like, "I typically give everyone the highest sentence I can get because typically no one's ever sorry. They're sorry they got caught." He goes, "By the time someone's standing in front of me, they're not sorry about their crime. They're sorry they got caught." And I know the difference. He goes, and the fact that even the U.S. attorney has told me everything you said right here, the U.S. attorney has affirmed and you turned yourself in, and I know you wouldn't even been able to be prosecuted had you not turned yourself in.
And he ultimately, how much?
So he looks at me, he goes, and I don't feel like the need to take your life. I could give you 100 years right now, but I just don't feel the need to take your life. I feel like you're the most sincere defendant that's ever been in front of me, and I actually want to help you. So after you've done your time, I want you to come out and look me up, and I want to send you come visit me in my chambers and let's have a talk about what you can do. Because I told him, man, I want to come out however much time you give me, Judge. If you give me an exit date, I'm gonna come out and I'll make a difference in the world. If you keep me there, please don't keep me there. Don't put me in there for my life. But if you do, I promise I'm even gonna make a difference in there. I'm gonna change men's life in there. And if you give me the opportunity to come back out into the world, man, I promise you, I'll make a difference in the world in a positive way. And he was just like, I believe everything you say. He goes, I believe you. I sentence you to, he goes, you ready for sentencing? We said, yeah. He goes, I sentenced you to 108. And all I heard was 108. And I was like, whoa. I'm like looking at my attorney, like, why do you do that? He goes, no. He said 108 months, 9 years.
9 years.
9 years. Give me 9 years, man. So I was able to go in prison. And, fortunately, a lot of the guys a lot of the guys in prison had knew who I was, because guys in prison, all they do is they sit around and
Right,
watch
everybody,
TV. They sit around and watch TV. And guys used to root on me when I was robbing banks. They'd be like, "Oh, he got him again! He got him again! He got away!" And I only told on myself, so I didn't have this thing of, you know. And there's this other little side story where one of my buddies had become, after I started robbing these banks and stuff like that, this guy that I had met had become a super big drug dealer, more like a drug lord. And so when they actually found out that I knew him and they started doing the connecting the dots, they were like, "Hey, we'll cancel your bank time if you like
right,
kind of tell us about him." Kind
right,
of what they did to the guy who told me, but I refused to talk about him.
right.
I refused to tell them. And I even told the judge in court, like, hey, they keep asking me about this guy, telling me if I don't tell them about this guy now, that they're going to make sure that you give me all this time. I'm like, Your Honor, I'm not here to talk about anyone but me. Like, I'll tell on myself all day. I'm here to tell you guys what I did all day, but I'm not telling on no one else.
Right.
Like, you guys let them figure out their situation. I'm here to figure out my situation. And there was this point where they were like, um, people heard it in court, and so it had gotten out. And that guy knew I didn't get down on him, and I didn't tell on him, and he ended up being at the prison that they sentenced me to. So when I got there, all the inmates knew who I was, but they also knew that I had told on myself, but they knew that I had refused to
To talk.
talk about
Yeah.
that guy. And so, and listen, I'm not saying one thing is wrong or right. I'm just saying it was the choice I made at
Right.
that point. But what that did is it set me up for when I walked into prison, all the guys, because a lot of the guys that were in there, white, black, all kind of, they knew who that drug dude was. They had a lot, or their people, either they knew him or their people had known him on the street. So the fact that I didn't, it carried a little bit of credibility, and they knew that, yeah, I had told on myself, but I didn't get put in like a category like, oh, I was, snitched on someone.
Right.
So because of my crime, unfortunately, it did leave me in a space of them looking up to me
Mm-hmm.
and me having some influence there. So I ended up, becoming pretty influential within the prison.
Yeah.
And I chose to use that influence. I kept my promise to the judge and to myself, and I would use that influence to um, bring the guys together versus all the prison shit.
You in solitary confinement there?
Well, no, no, not. I was in general pop when I first went in, but
When-
I ended up, I ended up getting in a situation
Uh-huh.
that got me in solitary for a long time, and it was actually quite interesting because I ended up having to defend. I ended up defending this old man on the yard, and it was after about 6 years of me being in, about 5 years of me being in, and everybody in prison knew me at this
Right.
time, bro. I walked around the yard with the Aryan brothers, bro. I could walk around the yard and talk to the Aryan brothers. I could go sit and have breakfast with with the blacks, and then I could eat dinner with the Mexicans. And no one does that in prison, bro. No one does that.
Right.
They start calling me like the peacemaker and shit like that because whenever riots would break out, well, whenever before a riot would just break out between races and it would be on. But now because
Did they pull you out of solitary because there was riots going on at Victorville or
So-
something like that?
yeah, so what happened was when I end up defending this old timer who had these young punks trying to attack him, I end up, going full throttle, having to defend him and myself and go full throttle. And, I did a lot of damage.
Right.
And it ended up putting me in solitary. But the guys on the yard, went to the administration and was like, you guys got to let him up out of there. You guys got to let him up out of here. The whites, blacks, and Mexicans all went to him and was like, and then the others are like Asians, Samoans, and blah blah blah. I'm from the Bay, so where I grew up, bro, it's a lot of whites, a lot of Mexicans, a lot of Asians, and blacks, and we don't like race play.
Right.
We all grew up together. We're all cool. But because it was like an LA based prison, you had a lot of race riots. A lot of Mexicans don't get along with blacks and whites and all that stuff.
Right.
But the Bay Area quote car, we call it like a car.
Right.
The Bay Area car was like whites, blacks, Mexicans, Asians, Samoans. We all were one, but there were a lot of us, so we probably had the most influence on the yard at that time. And so I was just able to have fortunately, thank God, I was able to have the respect and influence of these gentlemen, and they all went to the administration. I even had cops going in the administration going, like, listen,
How long? You
let
like
them
a
out
year,
of there
8 months? How
over a
long was it?
year.
Over a year in
Yeah,
solitary? That's 23
yeah,
hours a day by yourself.
yeah, yeah.
Fuck.
Like, let him out. You guys got to let him out of there. Let him out of there. Let him out of there. So when they all went and said we're either gonna strike or we're gonna like riot, they were like, okay, we're gonna let him out, but we're not letting him back on this yard. We're not. We got every inmate of every race coming to us telling us to let him out. Oh no, that fool's got way too much influence on this yard. We're not letting him out. So they're gonna send me to Wisconsin. So my parents had gone to like the big brass and tried to get me to stay.
Right.
And they were trying to work this deal to get me to stay. And then they were going to send me this, they rerouted me to this other way off prison, but still local. And then they started having riots, race riots between the blacks and Mexicans at a place called Victorville.
Right.
And the penitentiary that was in Victorville. So while I was at this holding place, getting ready to get shipped out, um, the, the administration came to me and was like, "Hey, listen, man, it's like the gang unit. It's called like SIS. It's their gang, their internal gang unit. They got wind that I was at this hub, and they used to be the main guys who run that thing. The cops. They used to be at Lompoc where I was because I was at Lompoc USP. They were at Lompoc with me, so they used to know my get down.
Right.
They knew how I got down, and they knew the level of respect I had. So they came and they were like, "Yo, bro, check this out. We'll keep you here, send you across the street. We're having race riots across the street, and if you think we can go over there and influence them to chill the fuck out, if you can do that, you keep it peaceful for a year. We'll send you to Terminal Island for your last year." And I was like, all right. And I went to, so within like 2 weeks, they sent me to Victorville, which was super close for my family now.
Right.
And ended up keeping it peaceful for the whole time I was there for the next
There's
year.
no riots, right?
Yeah, there was no riots for the next year that I was there. And, I had teamed up with the cool Mexican guys, with the white guys, with the others and stuff like that. And we had come up with this policy of, how to talk to each other and how to like show each other respect because it was just a lack of respect on a lot of different dudes' parts. And we put it back into the prison and there was no riot for a year. So after a year, they sent me to Terminal Island. And like 3 weeks after I was gone, there was a riot. A riot kicked off.
Right.
Yeah.
And you actually got Michael Bernard Beckwith. They start coming to the prisons and doing the agape service.
Yeah.
They'll do the choir singing and
Yeah.
that's
So
crazy.
by the time I got to Terminal Island, Michael Beckwith and the agape community would start coming in and visiting and stuff like that. So we got them to do these awesome, um, uh, every third Friday they would come in, but they would bring volunteers in. So we started having inmates go and hear like Michael Beckwith speak
Right.
within the prison. And then I met this other dude, man, and his name's we're gonna do a show about this guy. His name's Michael Torres Hymas.
Yeah.
And this dude, he was the shot caller of the Mexican dudes, right? But there was this old Asian dude, man, who used to walk the yard, and this dude would meditate. And this is before I got there. This is Terminal Island. He would walk the yard and he would meditate and he would do yoga and he was just like this happy dude. Michael Torres Hymas was like, he was
Mexican
about the
mafia dude.
business, he was he was about the business.
Right.
But he would see this old Asian dude, like just like he didn't have a care. He'd walk the yard and he'd be happy, but he'd always see him meditating and like doing yoga. So Michael would ask him, like, bro, like, what are you doing? Like, why are you so happy? Like, how do you keep so peaceful? And what's that stuff you're doing,
And
man?
listen, he was part of the MA.
Yeah. So well, we
Yeah, I mean,
keep keep this.
we'll
He
edit
was
that.
one of the Mexican shot callers there, and he started following this dude, man. He started letting this older Asian guy teach him about the old ways, man, and the old ways of connectedness and stuff like that. So Michael started learning, and Michael started teaching his guys, and then I show up and I come in with the energy that I come in with. We got the agape community coming in now, bro, and it changed the whole dynamic of prison, bro. So what you and I have talked about,
Yeah.
one of our goals is to bring yoga and meditation into prisons, bro, and true rehabilitation.
Truly.
Truly, it's gonna make the whole difference, bro. I saw the difference that it made while I was in prison, just being kind, bro. I mean, you had to walk with a strong hand, but most of the way I stopped things was
There's
through.
integrity there.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
integrity.
there's integrity.
Fucking
Sometimes sometimes you gotta walk your walk, but sometimes it doesn't help to doesn't hurt, I should say. It doesn't hurt to carry a big stick while
right.
you're walking.
Right.
And I tell you what, man, we changed the whole energy of that place, man. We changed the whole energy of that place, and it was so beautiful because when I came home, of course, I stayed on that path, and I immediately, started working with Agape, started working for Michael Beckwith and stuff like that.
That's cool. I just
So, and
want.
that's how we
Yeah.
that's how we ended up here. That's my journey. And there's, you know, 3 hours later, guys.
No,
3
hey,
hours
I'll tell you
later.
something. We're gonna get back. We could sit here to go over and talk about more of this, but I think through some of the interviews, like with Clyde Terry, that's coming up,
Yeah.
and
We'll
with
do a part
Dr.
two.
Habib. No, we'll put it out there. But I just want to tell you, thank you. We're gonna come back to it for sure. I think it's as interesting as all fuck, and I think giving people some direction how to find the documentary, which is really
So
good.
yeah, we'll list for you guys on how to find the documentary, man. But I've been home for a long time now. I've been home. I got out in I think 2008, 2009. In 2008, I came home to a halfway house, but then I cleared out of the halfway house by 2009. So I've been home over 10 years, 11 years, and I've done my best to keep my word to the people that showed me love and gave me those opportunities, like Judge Fees and the Michael Bernard Beckwiths, my parents, my kids, and the people that loved me and supported me. I've continued this journey of my goal now is to show other men and women what's possible. That wow, some I've just had this amazing opportunity to sit in some of the rooms with some of the most amazing leaders of our time now, spiritual leaders of our time,
Right.
and the Michael Bernard Beckwiths, the Wayne Dyers, the Deepak Chopras, you know, and the Don Miguel Ruizes, all these guys, these beautiful, amazing people that their message is love and connectedness, and they just remind us that we are not what society has programmed us to be, but we're so much more. So my commitment has been to be an example for them, to show them what's possible, because a lot of people don't even think this life, after having the life I have, is even
Right.
possible.
Just think of the names you just said. All those names that you just said, and then think of where you were coming from, and that's a polarity.
Yeah, and it's been this beautiful journey, and meeting Clyde Terry,
Yeah.
Officer Clyde Terry. I went from being one of America's most wanted to having my best friend be a sergeant in the sheriff's department and teaching inmates and release prisoners how to regain their life back. It's a beautiful journey, man. It's a beautiful journey, but
And it's so important for us and how connected we all are. And even just thinking they do because of the experience you were in, to look back and pull other people in to reach out. That's rehabilitation.
yeah,
Because right now, in this time, what's happening right now, if we don't think we're one, if you look at what's going on in the planet right now, if we don't all look to help each other, the situation like with coronavirus shit's going
yeah,
on, we are all one, dude.
yeah, yeah,
Like for
yeah,
real. This is
yeah,
a perfect example to show in kind of a dark way, but this is this is really
yeah, yeah. It for these guys out here that and not just guys, men and women, you think I think there's nothing wrong with finances, man. We love finances. Finances are great, man. The richer you can be, if you can do it within integrity, man, awesome. I salute you and root you on. We all want to be as wealthy as possible. My motivation for being wealthy is that's more wealth that we can use to go out and help people. Um, but also I remember being worth, you know, tens of millions of dollars, and it was my darkest time. It was the darkest time just because I was so not in my integrity, so not in my integrity, you know. And it's just not people that are doing crime. There are people out there that are doing business. White collar crime guys that people that aren't even committing crimes. That you're
right.
sitting in a job where you're intentionally giving someone rates that they can't ever possibly pay back, and then you're setting them up for a position to go take their home.
Right.
You might as well just go rob a bank. It's not ethical, but it may be legal because of the loopholes that we have in our system. So you don't have to be a criminal to be someone who's not living in your integrity. And I just, my goal is just to remind people of who they are, their connectedness to source, and to take off those masks that they're living behind, man, and
And bro,
living in
you stepping
integrity.
into your integrity to step in and to do that, that is really, I think, important. I mean, for me, my takeaway from sitting down and talking to you and even watching the documentary the several times watching, just thinking like, damn, did he really just do that? Is stepping into your integrity, you know?
Yeah.
And also when you think that money and the things that you have, you know, it doesn't go with you. A hearse don't have luggage racks.
Yeah, hearse don't have luggage
You know
racks.
what I
That's
mean? Like,
nice, man.
but when you
That's right.
because you think that as a kid, because you're on the street, you want I wanted nice shoes, bro. I wanted a house in the hill and a Cadillac
Nothing wrong
Seville.
with it. Nothing
No,
wrong with having nice things, man. Nothing's wrong with having nice things,
but it doesn't mean it doesn't. And then when you get it and you start going like, wait a minute, I'm fucking missing something still.
Yeah.
And ultimately you finding out that not money, it's not anything, it's really love, finding love inside yourself and being able to find out that for me, that's how it was for
Yeah.
me, is figuring out for myself who I was.
I've got a buddy, man. I've got these two buddies, and I won't name them just to keep their anonymity. But I've got one buddy, man. His world, I tried and slip little seeds to him, but his world, he's in the stock market, and his world is like money, 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 money. And people will look at that guy and be like, "Oh, he's a legit dude. He's making millions of dollars. He's making legit money." So they'll be like, "Oh, I want to be like him." But I
Right.
got another good buddy, man, who's in the cannabis business, and he's he's doing the real job that the pharmaceuticals pretend to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And people will look at him, and I've got this a great buddy, man, who's in the cannabis weed game, man, and he does stuff for profit stuff, but what he also does, man, is he gives out like cannabis to people that are have illnesses, and he's helping people that are dying. He doesn't
Right.
make a lot of money doing what he does because he gives so much away. But society will tell us he's the bad guy, and the guy doing this stuff over here is the good guy. So we just try and program into people's minds what's, let your heart tell you what's wrong and right. And just because something's legal doesn't, just because a guy's illegal doesn't mean like, he's the bad guy, and the guy's is legal doesn't mean he's the good guy.
Right on.
And we're just out here trying to bring awareness, which is why I'm so glad to be teamed up with you. So
Satnam.
Satnam and
Thank you, Hannah. Satnam. Thank you. Thank you, Toby.
So we're gonna have to
Thank
find
you,
some
Arthur.
cuts and
Thank
edit, we'll
you,
do some work.
Zeus. Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Joey.
So do we end it? How do we just end it on
We just
that?
did. We just ended it.
Oh,
Bye.
bro, you can't just be like, yeah, it's at none, right?
Yeah, we did. We just did it right there before your very eyes. We just ended
Okay.
it. Bye.